Hello and welcome to another episode of Aberystwyth Town in Conversation With. Tonight we have a man who has been the most requested guest since we started doing these interviews. It's Andy Evans. Andy, how's things?
Not bad, thanks. Nice to see you again. I haven't seen you for a while.
Yeah, it's been a while, isn't it, mate? Yeah, too long.
Last time I seen you, we were singing together, I think, on the bus.
was that for the semi-final?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure that's a day that we'll come on to later on. What are you up to at the moment, Andy?
Eating, sleeping, watching Netflix. No, being seriously, no. Trying to keep busy, basically. I'm self-employed, so it's been quite difficult at the moment. Been doing carpentry for 15 years, so it's been difficult with going to work in people's houses. Luckily, I've had a lot of work outdoors lately, but the weather's against us at the moment, so just trying to pick and choose the days. So, it's testing times like everybody at the moment, but just plodding along, basically. And that's why I'm fortunate I've got the football with the ladies, which is keeping me focused and involved, basically, and keep me keeping me sane.
And was everything okay during the fire break? You were able to work still, and just try to do things as normal as possible.
Yeah, well, basically just had 2 weeks off really, and just any emergencies, I would probably go and see a customer, but just generally just stayed at home. And then obviously the football was called off, so the ladies had to do their own training, so try to keep motivated that way.
Yeah, well,
pretty tricky.
Hopefully over the next few weeks everyone can get back to playing and start enjoying games again.
Yeah, hopefully. Well, fair dues, the girls have been motivated. They've started back the same time as Abermen's team, but my other team then, they started back doing some sort of pre-season, but with the no date on when they were going back for the league, we knocked it on the head. So they've had about 6 weeks off, basically, doing their own stuff. It's just generally hard for everybody, I think. Just, with no fixed dates to work to, everybody's been losing a bit of motivation in it. Yeah. So, and then just going about their own lives, basically. So hopefully, fingers crossed, things will progress now, and hopefully in the new year.
Yeah, definitely. We need it back, don't we? We need everything back to normal,
definitely,
as soon as we can. But what I want to do to start off with, Andy, is just as we always do on these interviews, just take you right back to the start and ask you a few things about your most earliest memories in football, your influences, and your first involvement in the sport.
Going back quite a while now, but no, I'm a Penparky boy. So, looking back when I was about 4 or 5, just start school, you get familiar with lads, or, people in your sort of estate and that. So, I was quite fortunate. We had an area just across from where we lived on a council estate, but locals will probably watch this. Will remember it. I thought it was an iconic area. It was called the Square, and all it was a tarmac area with 2 walls either end, probably the size of an 18-yard box. And that was where we sort of congregated as kids, various age groups, like Stu Kiddermuth, the Gittins brothers, I think Di Blair was there, Martin Griffiths was there, but obviously they were a lot older than me. And this was sort of like, the meeting point for everybody to socialise, but everybody to play ball games. Some of the months we played cricket, tennis, and then most of the year we'd be playing football. And, I'm thinking back now, unfortunate for the youngsters nowadays, they're stuck indoors. This is the fortunate thing is they've got internet now and games machines like Xbox and PS5s or 4s or whatever. So they're keeping interest, with that. But thinking back when we were kids, we were outside all the time, and this was the only way we socialised and got together, So I think if we'd been in a lockdown back then, we would have really struggled. But going back to what I was saying, that's where probably I learned how to play, my football and get involved with people from school and people from in the community, you know.
And there were a lot of those guys who graduated from the square to Park Avenue as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, there's numerous players. But I think back, funny enough, I put on Facebook about 5 years ago the photo of the square, as they called it. And I had so many comments on there because people got so many fond memories of it. And I class it as the Theatre of Dreams. I put a little icon there and I said Theatre of Dreams because for us youngsters, it was classed as that because, you know, that's how you aspired to hopefully progress in football or in any activity, basically. But very fond memories. Influences for me probably back then would have probably been my brother who was 5 years older than me, Chris. And another person which people would probably know would be Martin Robson. Now, that's Tom Robson's father. You know, and these sort of people that influence people from a young age, you know, a few years older than them. And, you know, you just take it on board. And that's how you get into the game, you know, basically. So, you know, I've got to be thankful for those two people, as well as parents are most important as well. You know, they influence kids and get them involved, encourage them to, you know, take up sports. So, you know, answering your question, I think, you know, it was a very important time in anybody's career, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Back to the start, in it, basically.
Mm-hmm. And was there a team that you supported in those days, or were you an Aberystwyth Town fan?
Yeah, I didn't go and watch Aber probably till about 8 or 9. Because obviously Penn Parker was playing up the top where the Nea Goffer is. So now it's a roundabout now, and the hub is opposite. So, you know, for the youngsters of today, they would never have remembered it being a football pitch there. But again, you know, that was the centre of the village. Me then, with my mates from school, from class, we used to go up there. We'd probably have a kickabout before the game and they'd be kicking us off the groundsman because we were probably lifting the nets and it from shooting and that and being a menace. But then we'd always stay behind, watch the game, and then pop over to the Spa, which was then, but it's the Premier shop now by the Co-op, grab a bag of sweets and a can of Coke, and then go back for the second half. But, you know, a lot of the players back then featured at Abertown, you know, in their earlier life, you know. But there again, you know, thinking back, you know, that was a great opportunity to watch a decent level of football. But then I would say I probably started watching Abertown when I was about 8 or 9. And I'd go down with a mate who lived in Cumbaden named Barry. I'd go down with him and his granddad, because his granddad was, I think he was, you know, he was a regular down there. And we often would, he'd be watching it in the Narcs corner, and me and him would go behind the goal then, because it was a grass area where the TA centre is now. There'd be a grass bank and put the tops down, have a little kickabout while the game was on. But I always recall going to watch one game. We were too close to the goal, and I think it was Kevin Morrison had a shot. One of his, you know, very rare shots was off target. I think it caught me straight in the face.
Oh, no. Were you badly injured?
On the floor. So that's one of my early memories of watching Abertown.
Oh, fantastic. As you said, it would be a rare shot that didn't go in the back of the net from Kev, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Well, probably most of his goals are headers, probably, in his career. But, you know, great memories. You know, I remember watching John Davis, Cookie. He was playing in second half on our end. And for me, he was just outstanding, you know. You know, the local team back then, you know, Kenny Wills playing, Tommy Morgan was playing, Mike Davis on the other wing, Morrison up front. Who else was there? You know, various players, you know. You know, I was too young to watch the Dai Whitneys and all that in their primes. But and even back then the crowds were massive. You know, it was a big pulling point to come to Aber, you know, when Aber was doing well. You know, you'd have big crowds for many years. But you know, I just enjoy going to watch Aber when you know, in my early years. And you know, back then I thought I'd love to play for a club like this, but little did I know, about 5 years or 6 years time, I would be, and it's aspiring for youngsters, isn't it, to go down and watch the biggest club in the area, which is Abertown for us. And it gives you that, that drive, innit?
And
so yeah, good early years of good memories.
Did you get involved with the youth setup at Aber?
Yeah, I was involved. Well, back then, obviously, there was no academies around here then, but there was like representative games, and we used to have like floodlit games, which was, felt like a cup final day for us, when we were like 12, 13, 14. We used to play the odd games away then down South Wales, representative games. But I think we always used to play the teams like Cardiff and Newtown on like a Tuesday or Wednesday night, because our biggest games back when we were young was playing like the mini minors in the area. And then they introduced then the Rush tournament. Now, that was massive back in those days, in the early late 80s, early 90s. And I was fortunate enough, the year that Ian Rush actually come down, he come down in a helicopter. And I think this particular year was when he joined Juventus. And I think he come down one year and he had John Aldridge come down with him. And then what they did the first couple of years, he come down, and then he had a photograph then down on Blandolly with a couple of local clubs from school teams. It was back then. Ourselves then, who was playing for Bluebirds, which is a Pen Parkite team, which is now Chwyna Rayos. We went down, we had a photo with him, and then I think it was Celtiaid, the team from Ysgol Gymraeg. So I've still got the photo to this day, but like standing next to him, Rush, who was promoting the tournament, also had the trophy for the top goal scorer of each age group.
Okay.
And you're looking at me thinking, wow, the wow factor. And then a few months later, you see me signing for Juventus. It was, just pinch yourself sort of thing. It was amazing. So, for a place like Aberystwyth, small town like this, I thought it just put us on the map. And I know Sherbs has mentioned it, playing the Rush tournament. I just thought it was brilliant for the local community and also for the local youngsters to be involved in a tournament like that on your own doorstep. So, very fond memories playing for representative teams back when I was young, and also playing in the Rush tournament, and it just merging into Aber Youth and Aber Reserves. And it's just giving you those good stepping stones to hopefully achieve the goal, which was to play for Abertown or better. So, really good fond memories.
So your first steps in adult football actually came with Cardiff City, I believe. So how did that move to Cardiff come about? And what are your memories of being down there and being involved with Cardiff City at that time?
So like going on about this Ian Rush tournament, getting involved with Aber Youth and it with their like development teams. So select teams it was back there. So it was either Aber 12 select, Aber 14 select, Aber 16 select. But then also there was a Central Wales Development Centre, which was players from Mid Wales. So if you were selected, you represented them. And that's what it was I was selected to play for them. It was myself, Darren Thomas, and Derek Roberts, who's been involved with Talabont. We selected to play from Aber to play for the Central Wales Development. So we played in the Rush tournament. I was linked with Aber Youth at the time as well. But I think they had a team in it. And it was just a chance, really, we played against them. We were in a group match, and it was just an opportunity to try and show what you're capable of. And I just look at it as a window of opportunity. So playing against the likes of the Liverpools, Cardiff City, Swansea sent teams up, Tranmere sent teams up, and I just recall playing Cardiff City, and I just thought, right, we've got nothing to lose, an opportunity to try and shine. And, I just put a chance, basically. You need a bit of luck as well in sport, and I just took that opportunity. I happened to play well that game. I think I might have scored. I'm not quite sure. I can't recall. And I think the manager back then, I think it was Mayor and Appleton, he had a chat with me after the game, and he said the coach has been interested, keen in how you played and all that, and impressed, and just keeping tabs on me then. So, it just give me a massive lift then for the rest of the tournament. And I just didn't think anything of it. I thought, oh, well, fair enough, I played well, take it into the next game. And then I think it was the end of the week. Then I think Mayron took me to one side and he said, they're keen on maybe taking you down to have a look at you over a course of 2 weeks. And I just sort of started getting a bit nervous about it. I thought, God, thinking about it and all that. Thinking, God, I must have done something good. And then it was over the summer holidays because normally the in-rest tournament was the first week after school holidays. So I had all the summer holidays then to think about this, and they were back pre-season then, so they gave me the opportunity to go down. So I went down for 2 weeks. I think we had a couple of friendlies, which I featured in. And then it was just everything happened so quick. And so I had a good 2 weeks training session, 2 weeks training with them. Got a bit familiar with the surroundings and personnel down there. First of all, when I went down there, I thought it was, a bit overwhelming. Basically, I didn't know anybody. Felt really nervous going to the dressing room because, you walk in the dressing room, you don't know anybody. Sitting down, a new place. Cardiff to me seemed like London. Such a big place in comparison to Aber. So I went down. I stayed in a digs for the 2 weeks with a guy that was from Bristol, who was in digs. The rest of the lads are from the valleys. So, sort of into the deep end. But after the 2 weeks, then they let me go home. And then they made a decision then to take me on. And as I was saying, it was just all happened so quick. I was currently doing my first year of A levels. So I made a choice then that if I was going to go down there, that I would have to carry on with my studies. So they give me a deal then so that I could continue my studies for my A levels in the second year, which I would have been starting when I went down there, and also be part of the club. And so I was a second year YTS.
Best of both worlds.
I was placed on the road and in Fitzallen High, which is just across from the Grant. So first couple of months was quite hard, but then I sort of settled in. But just thinking about what great opportunities, probably first few months was just trying to get used to the level of football. We were playing against the likes Yeovil Town, Exeter, Bristol, Rovers, clubs down that way. And, it was a massive change, in football, compared to what I was used to. So, I done well that season, and I managed to get a 1 year pro level down
Fantastic.
there. So, which was great at that time, but, give me great opportunity to learn, and, try and put myself out there, So
which,
thinking back, I just.
I was going to say, which players were in the first team at Cardiff at that time when you got your 1 year pro?
Phil Stamp was there, which I will mention him later on. Yeah, I went to Middlesbrough. Carl Dale was there. They were the two strikers. Damon Searle was there.
Yeah.
Derek Brazil, who was formerly with Man U.
And went on to manage Haverfordwest as well, didn't he?
That's it, yeah. And that's what I'm saying. This is the funny thing about football circles. You meet people at the beginning of your career, and then you cross paths later on in your career, which I'll mention later on. Like said about Derek Brazil. Derek Brazil was later on was Haverfordwest, and Phil Stant was my manager at Ilkeston Town, which I later joined. It was amazing. And, this is the great thing about football and sport in general. How many times you cross paths with different personnel, and then a lot of players that I did, like they left the clubs that I was with at Cardiff. I later on played against them in League of Wales level. It was like really good times basically.
I think
So
did Damon Searle come and play in the League of Wales as well at one point?
yeah, Damon Searle went to Barry Town, I think it was.
Right, yeah.
Well, Terry Evans was a first year pro with me at Cardiff, and then he had a good career with Barry Town then. Tony Bird then he had a good career with Barry Town, but was with Cardiff City. Had a good stint with Cardiff City. Cohen Griffiths as well was at Cardiff City when I first joined them. So the funny one is, looking back, is Scott Young. Scott Young was a YTS for me, spent most of his career at Cardiff City, and now he's one of the ambassadors at Cardiff City was formerly a manager.
He was at Port Talbot, wasn't he, for a time?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So, out of all the YTSs that were taken on the year I was there, the year that we finished our YTS, 7 of us all got taken on as pros. First time in many years. And the only one that was the longest serving one out of all those was Scott Young, who later on became the manager of the club and is an ambassador of the club now. So, interesting statistics.
So it was almost like Cardiff had a golden generation at that time.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, and fair dues. A lot of us, still carried on playing, late on into our careers, and played at League of Wales level, and some went higher, So, very interesting stats, to look back on.
Yeah. Sounds like a really, really good and enjoyable time for you down there as well. So
it was. When I was down there, they were always classed as a sleeping giant. And, it's nice to see where they've come to now, at the moment. I know they've got relegated a couple of times, but, they are a massive club and, they should be up the Premiership.
I think they're recognised now for the size of club that they actually are. Yeah. I can remember 15 years ago they were Division 3, weren't they? And watching, I actually watch Shrewsbury Town on a regular basis, and Cardiff versus Shrewsbury was a regular fixture in Division 3 about 15, 16, 17 years ago. And they were always bigger than that level. And, it's good to see where they are now.
Seeing all the Welsh clubs. Nice seeing all the Welsh clubs doing well. Newport's another one of my former clubs. They're doing well. Nice seeing what's heard about Wrexham at the moment.
It's exciting, isn't it?
Money. So it's exciting times. So let's hope all the clubs get up the leagues and put Wales on the map. Like the national team's done.
Absolutely. So it was around 2 years you spent with Cardiff City in total, then, Andy?
Yeah, I was at Cardiff. 2 years. Yeah, I was at Cardiff. Then I went to Merthyr on loan.
Okay.
I got released from Cardiff, so I had 3 months left before the season finished. I went to Merthyr. That was a good opportunity to play against a league just below the conference. Very physical league, I thought. And, the transition from playing a lot of reserve football and a couple of first team appearances with Cardiff to going to play lower league football, was quite challenging, We played a lot of football down south of England, a lot of London areas, like Crawley Town. Where else did we play? Played down towards Southampton area and all that, really challenging grounds and clubs. But, I just thought it was really rewarding in developing my game. I didn't stay long with Merthyr. I finished the season. Then I went on to play for Newport the season after.
Okay.
And Newport were playing where the headquarters is for Wales now, the Dragon Park.
Okay.
Just across the road. Again, brilliant club. They were formerly the Exiles. But what I noticed with Newport, they had a lot of potential, and we had a massive fan base because we used to play it by Gloucester way.
Yeah.
And we used to have as much support playing away as we did at home because when they were exiled, they just grew a lot of away support who used to follow us.
There was a really good documentary on it on the BBC a couple of years back, wasn't there? I remember watching it.
Yeah, I didn't watch it, but I heard about it. But both Merthyr and Newport, I know they were in lower leagues back then, but the fan base you used to have was brilliant, and like dedicated supporters used to go travelling all over the country, and I just had really fond memories of playing for both clubs, and I just thought it just helped me massively in my developing my game, with the physical side of my game, which I needed to improve on, which showed later on in my career.
And then following your spells with Merthyr and Newport, you came back to Aber for a short spell, making your first return. So how did that move come about, and what was the experience like coming back to Aber, having been at Cardiff?
Well, yeah, I was at Newport, and then the opportunity came out. I think it was Mayor and Appleton got in touch with me. I think I was playing for Newport, and I wasn't featuring too many times for Newport. Their new management had come in, new management, new ideas. I think I was not in their plans, and the opportunity came for me to come back to my hometown, and also the idea of coming home and being closer to family, because I was commuting at that time as well, going down to Newport. I used to be traveling down to train, and also I had digs as well if I needed to, in between training and games. So I just thought it was probably just seemed better at the time, cut down on the traveling, and have an opportunity to play League of Wales football, and hopefully try and stake a claim for first team place, in Aber. And I just relished the opportunity. So I come back to Aber, and I was familiar with a lot of the players that were there because they were local players, and I just fitted in straight away. Also, there was the opportunity because Aber were doing well, and I think we were going on a good run, and we had the Welsh Cup final, prospect of maybe making the final. Young team as well, so that sort of just gave me the idea of trying to put myself back in the shop window, because obviously I'd come out of the professional game, so maybe the opportunity of trying to shine again might get me back in in the limelight again. So
absolutely,
that's the reason probably I wanted to come back and play.
And was there a few guys from the square who had moved into the first team in Aber at that point?
Martin Griffiths was one. I think Stu Kiddermuth was there. Di Blair was there. Gary Lewis probably was there, but Gary was a Penryn boy. But we crossed paths when he was playing in the mini minors with Penryn, him and Aaron Thomas. So, I think half the team was all Aber-based lads, plus a couple of lads from outside Aber. And I recall we had a good cup run. I recall we played Cwmbran in the semi-final of the Welsh Cup in Cynecchi. Unfortunately, we lost 2-1 that day, and Cwmbran had a very strong team that day. A couple of ex-Cardiff City players played that day, but that year Cwmbran were a very strong side. I think they went on to win the Welsh Cup, I think, that year.
Yeah, under Tony Wilcox.
I think that's it, yeah, Tony Wilcox. And that was my first experience of feeling, like deflated, getting so far, and having a setback like that, and feeling the agony of losing in a cup match where you felt that you were good enough to progress, and hopefully get first bit of silverware, for the town, and also for the as a player, at a young age. But it just gives you good experiences of that you need to learn how to be on a losing end.
Yeah, need to have those setbacks in order to progress.
Exactly. Yeah.
And talking of progressing, that's certainly one thing that you did do around that time, because you were the subject of a bid from Barnsley, and you took the decision to move up to Barnsley and play in the Football League.
Yeah, again, it was a bit like Cardiff City when they come in for me. I just learnt that from probably playing with Cardiff City that they used to like really encourage you to try and work on trying to be consistent week in, week out. And funny enough, I was with Aber, I was playing for Aber before I moved to Barnsley. But going back the season previously, I know everybody has ups and downs, and especially from a striker's perspective, you have times in your career where you have a lack of form and a lack of confidence. Now, the season prior to the move to Gunner Barnsley, I was playing for the reserves, and I just could not get into the first team. I think I lost a bit of confidence, and it was a bit of a setback, I thought, in my career. But I thought, I need to get a bit of consistency back in my game. And, playing in the Central Wales League was sometimes as hard as playing up a few leagues like the Cymru Alliance and that, because, you don't get the rub of the green, you don't get your own way. And also you're playing against players who won't give you time on the ball and give you respect. And you're not playing on very good surfaces. So, from looking the season prior to when I went to Barnsley, was playing regularly in the reserve, couldn't make a cut in the first team. But then what happened? I had a really good pre-season. I was playing up front with Kevin Morrison and a few experienced players in the team, and it just sort of gave me a bit of a kick up the arse. And then I hit the pre-season of '99 running, and I just went on a goal rush and banging goals in. I think I scored about 7 or 8 goals in the first few games, and you know, I just probably got the attention then from league clubs, because I look back, it's all about consistency in a game, and if you're doing well and you're confident, the opportunities are there, innit? And
Yeah, absolutely.
it's just out of the blue, basically. So again, I was invited up. For a week. And I'd look around the grounds. Funny enough, myself, Barry Powell at the time, who was manager, and Donald Kane, the chairman, came up. We all went up, travelled up. I spent 2 nights there. I'd look around the grounds, met the staff, and then the bid went in for me. Then, so again, it was just
Fantastic.
out of the blue. I wasn't prepared or nothing. I had a settled life in Aber. I was working for the post as a postman. I was coaching, funny enough. I was coaching with Matthew Bishop, involved with, it wasn't the academy for Aber at that time, it was like a development centre. And then all of a sudden, within a week or two, I was moving to Barnsley to play professional football.
Wow, what a turnaround.
I know, yeah, it was unbelievable, but it was something I had to, settle into pretty quick. I just thought the first couple of weeks was just trying to get used to the fitness, because the fitness was so much more requested of you, and going back to training every week, every day of the week.
So who was the manager at Barnsley at that point?
It was Mike Bassett.
Okay. Wow.
So
a guy who's managed the crazy gang.
Yeah, it was just phenomenal, because I remember watching him, with Wimbledon years prior to that, and then seeing him then as he's going to be my manager.
And I think had he been in the Premier League the season before with Forest as well?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, he had been. Yeah, so
a huge name.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, there was some big players there. Mike Sherran was there, formerly Man City. Craig Hignett was there, formerly with Blackburn. And you're training alongside these players then. Unfortunately, I didn't get, I only got one appearance with them, but it was just, just the level of, competitiveness playing at that level. Even the reserve games was really competitive. I recall playing against the likes of Robbie Fowler, was playing for Liverpool reserves, coming back from injury. I remember him. He played against us on Oakwell. We were drawing 0-0, doing really well because he's playing against Liverpool reserves. And then he comes on last quarter of an hour and bangs in a hat trick.
Of course, it never took him long to get a hat trick, did he? I think
he was phenomenal. Well,
he got one in 6 minutes at one point.
I remember watching him playing in the Ian Rush tournament with Liverpool youth, and then watching him playing in that reserve game, and obviously watching him on Match of the Day and watching how good he was, you know, how good he had progressed.
Yeah.
But then, as I was saying, he scores a hat trick against us in the reserves. They win 3 or 4-0. And then I'm watching him on Match of the Day then on a Saturday night, and he's playing for Liverpool first team, you know, and, you know, it's just getting those opportunities to be playing against people like that.
Yeah.
You know, and another one was playing against, you know, like Alan Smith was playing for Leeds at the time. You know, he's playing for the reserves. And then, you know, a year later, he's playing for Man U.
Yeah, yeah, and what a player he went on to be as well.
Yeah, you know, another one, Merson. Merson's playing for Aston Villa reserves, and this is at the end of his career. And then he's playing for the reserves, and, you know, the boys just couldn't get near him in a reserve game. It was just phenomenal.
Yeah, just class.
Yeah. So, you know, I played a lot of reserve games, but back then you had a lot of really good players playing in the reserve league because we were playing in the FA Premier Reserve League. So players, you know. So you know, great memories.
What was that changing room like then, Andy? Did you get some good nights out with those boys at Barnsley?
Yeah, you know, the reserves and the first team trained together every week, and then like before, well, like probably on a Friday then we'd have, or a Thursday, we'd have like a practice match.
Mm-hmm.
So it'd be reserves against first team. And I always recall, I was probably featuring a lot of the reserve games, play reserve teams that we play, and playing against the likes of Craig Hignett was playing again, and he just couldn't get the ball off him in a practice match. He was just phenomenal in training. And, you know, like, you know, everybody be together, you know, you didn't feel as if you were left out at all, you know. You know, we had a few good nights out, you know, as a club. But even then, you know, I recall this was a difference when I was at Cardiff and I was at Barnsley. When I went to Barnsley, they started bringing in this dietitian side of it, you know, what you were eating, really looking after yourself, which was different when I was at Cardiff, when I was in the early 90s.
Mm-hmm.
So you could already see the change in everybody's attitudes.
Yeah, and in a relatively short period of time as well.
Yeah, it was. And, you know, I think it was for the benefit of the players, to be honest. You know, it improved me as a player because you had to really look after yourself, you know, in order to perform at a high level. Yeah. And it just, you know, it just helped me later on in my career, because when I went to Barnsley, I was 23. When I left them, I was 25. And then I went back to non-league football, but it changed me in the way I thought about how, you know, how I looked after myself.
Yeah, so that side of things you feel really helped improve your game.
Oh yeah, definitely. You know, and it, you know, when I come back to play for Aberystwyth, started coming into that game as well, into the League of Wales.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and the performances changed massively, you know, and people's, you know, approach to the game, you know, changed massively over that, you know, over that duration.